Hi everyone and welcome to this episode. This episode we head back to Iran. Iran has a long and glorious history, going back to the Babylonian Empire all the way through to greats like Alexander the Great, who overtook Darius to take control of the country. We're going to look at the history of the Safavid people and the country itself as it progresses. And then we're going to head down the south, having been to Shiraz and Persepolis, the ancient capital, down to Yazda, all the way to Bandar Abbas, Bandar Lenge, and then get our ferry across to Dubai. Iran has its feet planted firmly in historical society. So let's compare and contrast these two places and then get to see the rest of Iran, the beautiful people, the bridges, the mountains, the desert and the countryside. But more importantly than anything, let's meet some Iranians, see the countryside and let you decide for yourself. I'm Jason Ross. This is Jason's Journeys. Let's go back to Iran. As you may remember, last week we were in Isfahan, in the middle of the Nagji Jahan Square, looking at the beautiful Imam Mosque and surrounding area. Well, today we move on to look at some of the beautiful bridges, of which there are many, in the city of Isfahan itself. At this point in our journey, we're smack dab in the middle of Iran, in the ancient city of Isfahan. As you walk out of town, you make your way down to the Zayanda River, which starts in the Zagros Mountains. Along this area there are some modern bridges, but there are also some beautiful historic ones too. These ancient bridges cover the most historic and architecturally brilliant aspects of Isfahan culture. The oldest bridge is the Poli Sharistan, which was built in the 12th century during the Seljuk period. Further upstream though is the bridge we're going to check out, which is the Poli Khaju, the Khaju Bridge. The Khaju Bridge, or Poli Khaju, is arguably the finest bridge in Isfahan. It was built by Shah Abbas II, a Safavid king, in about 1650 AD on the foundations of an older bridge. Serving as both a bridge and a dam, it links the Khaju quarter on the north bank with the rest of the city via the Zayanda River. Now when I went there it was summer, so there was no water flowing through, but I'll show you some photos of how spectacular it looks when the river is in full effect. By night time, the bridges here going across the river take on a whole different complexion. It's really a kind of romantic Paris, New York, London-y type nighttime feel where couples gather on the bridge to meet, which isn't exactly condoned by the government, but you know, they can't stop it. Love will conquer all. Love finds a way. But anyway, let's check out the bridge at night. This is Siosé, one of the 11 bridges that cross the river. As I say, it was built between 1599 to 1602. It was built by one of the generals of the Shah Abbas. Let's check out the night bridge anyway. Forget the history and live a bit of romance here in Iran, shall we? It's also used not just as a bridge and a weir, but as a place for public meetings. Although now the coffee houses that were on the bridge have been, well, taken down with the excuse that the smoke from the various ghillie pipes was destroying the bridge. Having spoken to locals, they all told me it was because they didn't like boys and girls getting together in such coffee houses, and they also didn't like the idea of political rabble-rousing going on in such places. The Khaju Bridge has 23 arches and is 105 metres long and 14 metres wide. The passway of the bridge is 7.5 metres and it's made of bricks and stones with some smaller inlet and outlet channels if you look at the arches under the bridge. The pieces of stone used in the bridge are over 2 metres long and the distance between every channel and the ceiling base is 21 metres. As you can see, the bridge areas of Isfahan are a beautiful place to spend the evening, but as the sun went down I realised it was time to head back, checking out a few mosques as I walked back to my hotel, because it was time to get up the next morning and head on out through the desert onto our next stop into Shiraz. So the next morning it was up and onto another bus for the 500 kilometre journey on from Isfahan to Shiraz. I got to see as I travelled through the countryside just how arid it really was. Iran is one of the most mountainous countries in the whole world, and this mountain area really shapes the economy as well as the cities that are found along the way. The mountains enclose several broad basins or plateaus on which major agricultural and urban settlements are located. Until the 20th century, when major highways and railroads were constructed through the mountains to connect these areas, these basins were relatively isolated from one another. As a result, typically each basin has one major town, and there's a complex relationship between each town and the hundreds of villages that surround it. There are no major river systems in Iran, so as a result historical transportation was by means of caravans that followed routes traversing these massive mountain ranges. The mountains also impeded any access to the Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Fortunately, that wasn't an issue. So as we got ready for what I thought was going to be a lunch stop, we pulled in and, well, it wasn't quite what I expected. Well, here we are at our lunchtime pit stop between Isfahan and Shiraz. As you can see, it may be lunchtime, it may be the pit stop, but it's Ramadan, so there will be no eating. So we're just stopping, taking a break and getting back on the bus. On to Shiraz, everyone. It's about 500 kilometres. So I thought before I got back on the bus I'd go to the toilet. Not so sure about that. Well, here we are in the desert in the middle of Iran, central Iran. Another beautiful tropical day. We're continuing on to Shiraz, which was the ancient capital at one point. You can see there's a lot of industrial trucks and buses ploughing their way across the countryside, and we're no different. So let's get back on the bus and get out of this heat. Continue on Jason's journeys to Shiraz. So as we finally make our way to Shiraz, don't go away, because after the break we go off and see the ancient city of Persepolis, one of the great civilizations of mankind, and we go and check out the antiquities it has to offer. I'll see you after the break, everyone. Don't go away.